Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I'm reading and what I hope to get to next, because I have not finished anything yet, which I feel is fair. We are still fairly early into November, and as you saw on my TBR this month, I have a bunch of tomes, a bunch of big things, so I've started a lot. I'm in the middle of a lot of things, but I haven't finished anything. So let's start with my audiobooks, because I have a few of those. So Ryan uses the little free library that's on our street or the street over, and he found a copy of A Crown of Swords, and I was like, why don't you pick that up? And I think this is like one of the first like versions of the mass market paperback. It has like a map as the inset, which like if you're going to do an inset, this is appropriate. Very pretty map. So I'm not actually reading from this, but I thought it would be good in case I need to look up names or the glossary. I'm about this far now, so I am at chapter 9. And so far, this feels about the same quality as what I was getting in Lord of Chaos, so don't feel the slogginess yet. We're back to Perrin perspective, so that's been nice, although I realized I hadn't really been listening to the books since we last had Perrin, so the book 4 is when we most had Perrin perspectives. Like, we had a little bit in Lord of Chaos, but book 4 was the big one, and I hadn't been on audiobooks yet. So this is my first time with audiobooks with a significant chunk of Perrin. So I kept forgetting it was Perrin and thinking it was Rand because they were in the same scene. That's my bad. It's kind of interesting because of his abilities, what insight you get into certain conversations. I'll just leave it at that. Per usual, all the stuff that's usually bothered me is still there. I'm just getting better at just going like, of course, that's in here right now. Nothing is annoying me more than normal. I'm happy to have Perrin perspectives. We just had a really cool Egwene perspective. I really like what happened to Egwene in Lord of Chaos, for those who know. And I don't know, it's one of my favorite tropes. I can't talk about what it is. It's a huge spoiler. But curious to see where this goes. A little nervous because I actually am intrigued by a lot of the threads that are being introduced. But I have heard the complaints about the next 3 books and how maybe too many threads are introduced and not all of them get the same treatment. But as of now, doing great. I also started my reread of Jade War, because when I'm at work, like this is not as conversational. This has a lot of world building, a lot of names, a lot of places, a lot of things to keep track of. So I mainly listen to this when I'm just walking to and from work. Maybe if I'm doing something like really like tedious and doesn't need my brain, I'll listen to it. But this is a reread and it's more conversational and the world building is not as intense. So I can like listen to this while doing stuff in the lab. And so I'm now about this far, loving the reread. I think knowing the pacing of it this time has been what I expected, really great for being in this story. And also the audiobooks are just fantastic. I knew this when talking to friends, but like listening to them myself, I'm just like, this is great and works really well for the large time jumps and for the different narrative perspectives. Really liking this, and as an audiobook, getting really excited for Jade Legacy. So I don't have any new thoughts other than I'm enjoying my reread just like I was Jade City. Although I do think, we'll see, that Jade City is the stronger of the two for me and my preferences. And I guess I'm kind of listening to another audiobook. This was kind of like out of nowhere. So I'm reading The Shadow King. This is for my local book club that will meet next week. And this is a really fascinating historical fiction. But the writing style and the writing choices were such that I was struggling. And then I was looking, and Robin Miles is the narrator, which like we all know that like Robin Miles is the top of all of my narrator lists, obviously. Like I didn't know I'd have a favorite narrator. It's Robin Miles, apparently. But this story is Ethiopia, 1930s, when Mussolini and Italy are trying to invade and take over Ethiopia, I think for the second or third time. It's not the first time that they've attempted this, but it's between World War I and World War II right now. And we follow this character, and I was describing it to Ryan as like, it starts very Forrest Gump. We're at the end of the story. She is traveling to a place with a box to like, I think, give to someone or meet with someone, and then we go into her recollections. And it also has other narrative devices, like it has chorus chapters, it has interludes with the Emperor of Ethiopia, and it has these photos that are in this box. So sometimes you just have a section that's just like photo, and you see the description of the photo. And it's about Ethiopians rising up and coming together against Mussolini, specifically this one group head by, is his name Kanade? I am forgetting how to say his name right now. And, he's a person. And his wife it's fascinating because when you first meet his wife, you're just thinking like, this is a spoiled, privileged individual. I don't like how she interacts with our main character. She's not likable whatsoever. And then you see what she's had to deal with, and you see the role she's taking up. It's very, like, I don't know how many of you have watched or seen the movie Evita with Madonna in it, or seen the musical Evita, but that is another woman who in the 30s, during kind of this part of history, came up in Argentina to take a seat of power, and it kind of feels like the vibes that's happening with this woman, Astor. I think that's how you say her name, or Ather. I don't know. So the stuff that's happening in this historical fiction is really awesome, and there are moments when I can't put it down that I love the writing. But this author has decided quotation marks are optional, which I don't know enough about writing to know why some authors can do this. Like, I dislike it with a passion, especially with how she chooses to write dialogue. It is not as simple as knowing this is an internal thought versus this is spoken out loud. It's really hard, which is another reason why this audiobook has been fantastic, because Robin Miles has different voices for different people, so it's really obvious when it's a conversation going on for me. And also, her voice is just fantastic. I just love Robin Miles. So that has really helped me with the flow. There's just also sentence structure choices that this author has that just doesn't always vibe with how my brain works. So the audiobook helping go through that has been good. So it's been an immersion read, but I now am using the audiobook. I switched over to that about 120 pages in. I was just like, oh, there's an audiobook. And then I was like, oh, it's Robin Miles. So it was great. So I'm really liking the content of this historical fiction. And I even like some of the interesting narrative devices that are being used, but not all of it's landing for me. I'm very torn, but also now really excited for the book club discussion. Also, incredibly dark stuff. Like, I know we're talking about conquering and war and all that, but also there's a lot of young women getting married off to old men, and those scenes are graphically described. Let's put it that way. It's a lot to read. She does not hold back on those scenes. I think they're handled also tastefully, but it's just, if you don't like reading about that, it's here. It's very much here. They normally are in the chorus section, so everything tragic, like really dark and tragic, tends to happen in the chorus section, which I think is kind of nice because it's an attempt of like putting yourself a little bit further away, kind of having this Greek chorus tell you this part, so it provides a little separation. And also, it's kind of, for me now, a warning of, oh, we're at a chorus section. It's something really dark's about to happen, so far, at least. So those are all of the audiobooks / the reading so far. I have also been reading 2 other things. One is The Black Tides of Heaven. I was going to start Bitter Twins, but then Travis started The Black Tides of Heaven. I'm like, fine, I guess we can buddy read this. I'm not mad about it. I've actually been very curious about this novella collection, especially since the bind-up is now for sale at my bookstore. So if I end up really liking this first one, I might go buy it because it's there and it has a very pretty cover. So, like, what am I going to do? I've only read the first part, so I think there's 4 or 5 parts in the first novella. And so far what I know is that there's something called the Slack, and that's the magical thing. And we have this political family, higher up family, with this woman who is very much in charge, and she keeps making deals with this abbot at this monastery about what kids can train there or not, and there's these twins. And one twin is really powerful, and the mom is taking interest in them again. And there's this place called the Tensoret where I think you learn a lot about Slack and how you can use it in different ways. I don't know a lot, but what is really cool is that the way that the world building is done is, obviously this is fantasy, this is magic, but some of the visuals remind me of like classic sci-fi imagery, like traveling on some of these contraptions. Like the way the magic is used in technology feels sci-fi in its imagery, which is really cool to me. I'm just also really interested in this sibling ship and like what's going to happen. Like this first part was very much watching these kids grow up, and I don't know where we're going to go next. So I'm intrigued. But what's also just a funny coincidence is I read the next story in The Mythic Dream, because I think I already talked about to you guys in a different Friday Reads about the Rebecca Roanhorse one, which was the Guide to Astronomy or something. It was cool. But this one is called The Six Crows. I'm going to try and remember. The Bridge of Crows. And that's by the same author, which I didn't know because Neon Yang is the author name for Black Tides of Heaven, and this one is J.Y. Yang. but I'm pretty sure it's the same person when I was looking it up. And I loved that story in this collection. So The Bridge of Crows was like the definition of like a myth, like how I'd want it. Like there's a narrator telling this story to younger kids sort of thing, and it has a story within a story, and it has morals. Like it's everything I expect from a myth, and it was a myth I didn't know much about, so that was also cool. So that was awesome. So by happenstance, I'm reading 2 by the same author, so that is something. I'm really excited also about Black Tides of Heaven, because I had guessed it had something to do with gender, and I don't think it actually does specifically, but in this world, you do not pick your gender until a certain point, which I think is really cool, and I'm curious to see if that plays another role in this world, or if that's just like a part of it. It's like one of the few things that has been mentioned to me. And it's also a novella, or I don't know if it's a novel because it's like 240 pages. And I know there's a word count cutoff, but when you're not an author and you don't have word count given to you when you buy a book, I don't know how to tell. But the world building is being done, I think, in a really great way for the amount of space that there is. Like, I do feel like I know what this place looks like. The magic is fascinating to me. It's not really info dumped, but I'm getting a sense of it. Really cool. So those are all the things that I'm working on. I hope to obviously finish Black Tides of Heaven before the next check-in. It's pretty short. Maybe read another story or 2 in this, and then pick up Bitter Twins. I'm very excited to read Bitter Twins. I need to read the next book in that series. But otherwise, I don't have any big plans because I got a lot of chonky things around, so we will see what happens. And I don't really have many plans for the weekend, which is honestly kind of great. Have some chill time. I mean, my main plan is I need to write my thesis. But I pair that with watching Bones, which is, like, if you don't know, one of my favorite TV shows of all time that I'm now rewatching for probably the 10th time. I don't know. I've watched it a lot. I have a huge connection to a lot of the things in that show, and it's been great. I'm almost done with the first season. I don't know who to recommend it to. I mean, especially since I'm not someone who usually likes serialized TV drama shows. I usually don't like that formula, but for this, I think it's just the cast. I think the chemistry of the cast with each other is like 10 out of 10, one of my favorite things. I really relate to the main scientist on multiple levels. So many levels. I don't want to go into it because some of them are very personal to me, and this is the internet. But I really love that. So that's like the show that I've been watching when I'm like really need to decompress at night while I'm working on my friend's sweater. I do blame Lady Trent for putting me down this path. I mentioned that earlier this week on a wrap-up, and I do blame her. But otherwise, I don't really have a lot of plans. Gonna maybe go to a friend's, play some board games Friday night. Should be fun. Well, I guess that's tonight for you guys. But let me know what you're doing this weekend. What are you reading? How's your November going? It is cold. It is cold here. It's not like actually that cold, like, but it's our first consistent week of like the lows are in the 30s. So sweaters. Lots of sweaters. If you want to leave an emoji, I don't know. Leave a crow for The Bridge of Crows. That was a really cool short story. I really liked it. That short story knew the assignment. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.